You're listening to a DM podcast.
We would like to acknowledge and give thanks to the traditional owners of the land we record this podcast on, the Yagara and Turrbal people,
and their continued connection to the land and waterways on which we meet.
Hello and welcome to Sportish, where we look at life through the lens of sport. My name is Georgie Trickett.
And I am Libby Trickett.
I just have to start today's podcast with this sentiment. I don't know how I'm meant to feel about Sam Kerr.
I mean, it's exactly how I've been feeling. Sorry, we'll back up. For those of you who have been living under a rock, Sam Kerr is currently in a trial.
Yes.
She got arrested, was it end of last year?
Actually, I think it was earlier, but we didn't become aware of it until much later.
She had been drinking,
Yes.
allegedly, maybe properly, I don't know.
And I think that's been acknowledged in the court proceedings.
Yes. And then she has been accused of racially vilifying a police officer, a white police officer. And then just over the last sort of week or so, we've started to see body cam footage from the police officer of what actually went down. There was also comments about the reason that they got taken to the police station was because the taxi driver was complaining about maybe someone vomited in the taxi.
Yes, that was initially that's what came out in all the reports around this issue. And I guess I'm really conscious that this is something that's before a court and we don't have any legal... Allegedly.
How did you feel when you saw the footage?
I think the best way to sum it up is that I didn't want my kids to see that footage. Became really conscious of them hearing it in news reports as we were driving around, like doing our afternoon pickups and transitions to sport and all that sort of thing, because one of them picked up on that and they're like, is Sam Kerr going to jail?
Wow.
And it was like something crumbled for them. I think the other thing that really struck me is that Sam has made in her comments to the court that made it clear that she felt very unsafe in the taxi and they genuinely felt like they were being kidnapped. And I have been in lots of taxis where I've been worried about where I might end up, and
That's being a woman, isn't it?
Yeah, and I've sat there pretending to be on the phone to somebody. I've even recently coming home from one of the prelim finals at the Gabba for the AFL, a mate and I had been there. We went to try and get a taxi. We couldn't get a taxi. We kept walking and walking, and all of a sudden we're on a really dodgy dark street, two females, and a taxi pulled up, and we live pretty close to the Gabba, and we got in and we sat in and we clipped in, and he said, okay, so it's going to be $30 to drop one of you home and then the next one pays $30. And I was like, what do you mean? This is a like $10 cab ride at best to the first stop. And he was like, well, that's what I'm charging. And at that point we had no choice because
you're already in there.
We're already in there. I mean, I guess you always have a choice, but we sort of were like, what do? We don't have any other way to get home. There are no taxis. There are no Ubers. There is nothing. I guess we're paying $60 to drive
10 minutes.
4 kilometres. And so for women in taxis, I mean, I can understand you being really frustrated, and if the police then don't believe you, it's a really tricky position to be in.
Yes, of course, she would have felt scared, and totally acknowledge and feel for her in that respect for sure. And this is probably terrible of me, but like the whole calling the police officer stupid and white and him feeling intimidated by that sounds really ridiculous.
Yeah.
So the racial vilification did not sit at all with me.
I mean, I just don't think there's a case here.
Yeah, I totally agree. Obviously, it's behaviour unbecoming of the Australian soccer captain. And then in the next breath, I'm like, and yet there are hundreds of men that I could name in sport who have done thousands of things that are much, much worse than what Sam Kerr did that night.
Yeah. And would we even know about this?
We wouldn't even know about it. Like how many times over a weekend would some footy player be in a similar situation and yet just gets away with it? No one talks about it. It's because she is the Australian women's soccer captain.
100%.
That this is happening. So it's that fine line of being that role model, of being that representative of Australia and, you know, someone that our kids look up to and admire.
Okay, so how would I feel if this was Pat Cummins, or how would I feel if this was Alyssa Healy? Both are Australian cricket captains. How would this make me feel? And my first block is, well, it probably wouldn't come to this. We would never have seen this footage. I just don't think things would have escalated the way they have. I think.
Why do you think that?
I think race played a part in this, and I think it just wouldn't have escalated the way it has done through the courts if we weren't talking about someone with, you know, an Indian Australian background. Many will disagree with that.
Yeah.
I completely understand. And I certainly don't excuse the behaviour, and I certainly would never want to hear my children speaking to anyone that way. And also, we have never experienced what Sam Kerr has experienced.
I totally agree. I want to wrap Sam Kerr up and, you know, protect her and defend her and all of those sorts of things. Like, she's a worldwide phenomenon and has been incredible for Australia, has been incredible in all of her teams and is well known throughout the world. But, like, there's an expectation of how you are meant to behave, and that's certainly something that I tried to live up to. I wasn't perfect all of the time.
Yeah.
So it's like, what standard do I hold myself to? But also, she's a human being. And we don't know what transpired before that. We don't know exactly what happened and how she was feeling and what was going down. So how do we judge that? And then, you know, I saw a conversation around, you know, comparing Sam Kerr to Jared Hayne, and like, it's chalk and cheese. Like, like you can't.
It's hard to even put their names in the same sentence.
Why would we even compare what that was compared to what Jared Hayne, you know, was convicted of? And it's just unbelievable that we're even having this conversation in 2025. But also, I do think you're right. I think race does play a part in it. Why hasn't she been protected?
There's been some suggestions that she should resign from the captaincy, and now I know how to feel about it. I don't think she should.
I don't think she should either. There we go. We worked through it. Georgie.
One of our favourite sports to talk about.
It's so exciting.
Is coming back. And it's coming back in its two formats.
Ooh.
The actual sport and the Netflix documentary series.
Oh,
and I am, of course, talking about F1.
Finally. Drive to Survive. I mean, I don't know that I've actually watched a full race yet.
I have. I've watched one. I've watched an Australian Grand Prix.
Yeah, because it was in our time zone.
It was in our time zone. I'm not sitting up to watch like
Bahrain.
No, exactly. I've got children. I've got lunchboxes.
I've got things to do.
You people who are able to watch full races, who are you? What do you do for jobs? But I sat on the couch on the weekend and thought, I don't feel up to date on this. Over the next couple of weeks, we're going to be bringing you back up to speed with F1. Because
you're welcome in advance.
We know that you, like us, have been busy. There's been cricket, there's been tennis, there's been Christmas, there's been trying to get many school kids back to school. Now is your time to drive back in to Drive to Survive universe and to the actual real F1 universe.
And to Lewis and Toto.
And this is where our story shall begin, because over the summer break, Lewis stepped away from Mercedes and entered his Italian era.
His red era.
And
his Ferrari era.
Oh, my God. It's been glorious. And the imagery that came out of that ascension into greatness.
Ascension. Very good.
The imagery has been superb. And I was looking at it going, what's changed here? Like, why am I looking at these photographs thinking this is very...
Swoon?
No, I mean, not like that, but just like...
Just me then.
No, that's not... No, but it's just polished.
Yes.
Very
Italian.
Chic. It's Italian. And so I reached out to the internet, as one does, for some...
What's changed with Lewis?
to really understand. And I found what is, to me, the greatest hot take that's come out of F1 in the last couple of months. And the title of it is, at Ferrari, Lewis Hamilton is undergoing a menswear vibe shift.
Love it.
And I thought, GQ magazine, you've nailed that.
Yeah,
that is exactly what's going on.
Yeah.
Because I just couldn't quite understand it. And I need to just read you something out of there just to really...
ram it home.
Just to really understand. And Lewis was sort of like foreshadowing his move to Ferrari in terms of how he was dressing as the 2024 season closed.
He kept wearing red.
Like very statement red. And still in his streetwear vibe.
Yes.
But very statement red. And then when I saw the first image of Lewis for Ferrari, he was in all black. And he was chic. Here's what GQ said. At the Abu Dhabi Grand Prix last year, Lewis Hamilton raced in a Mercedes for the last time, and he chased the announcement of a Ferrari move with a slew of all-red outfits, as you saw, Libby. But for his first day at his new team's Maranello HQ, F1's biggest fashion guy changed gears. Such a good analogy. Well done, GQ. Switching out his usual high-end streetwear for classic Italian menswear. That meant a double-breasted overcoat from Italian label Ferragamo, which makes sense. Like his new whip, it's classic and Italian and sexy.
Mm-hmm.
It's boxy and oversized too, with broad lapels to keep things structured from the top down, and wearing immaculate menswear to pose with a vintage Ferrari F40. I don't even know what that is, but it's a very schmick car.
Yeah.
Outside Enzo Ferrari's office, as Hamilton did, is a boss-level flex if we've ever seen one.
That's who Lewis is.
Right?
That is cool.
I didn't actually realise at the time when he was racing with Mercedes that he was embodying European street wear. Like he was really leaning into that German, very cool, very hip street attire.
He's very fashionable.
He is of the moment.
He is.
And we had thought he was just moving to Ferrari because he was having a midlife crisis and he wanted to drive a fast car.
But what a way to end your career.
But I think this has been about fashion. I don't think this is about motors.
I think he's like, it's time. I think it's time, World, to just really get chic again.
So there you go, guys. That's your first.
Making Lewis chic again.
Chapter 1 of our F1 reintroduction.
Do we know when Drive to Survive is out?
Very early March. I was going to say March 8.
Yeah.
I was like, what is happening in F1? I went to go and watch it and I was, God damn it, it's old season still.
Yeah, I'm so excited.
That was a very different season. There was a lot of drama last season. There were
So
arguments
much
between drivers. There were
So much
crashes.
movement.
And next week we have to talk about where everyone's gone.
Yes, we do. We need to like get the helmets out.
Get the helmets out
out.
and go, boom, this one's here. And I'll be like, with a long pointing stick telling you where they've all gone because there's been tons of movement.
Yes, it's so exciting. I'm so happy it's back.
Bring on the fast cars, but more importantly, bring on the drama that goes with the fast
Mostly
cars.
the drama.
That's what we're here for.
I mean, we all know Max is going to win again.
I don't know, Libby. I don't know.
Well, Lewis is now in red, so
anything could happen at this point, and Max is like not at the top of his game like he once was. There was a changing of the guard, and McLaren is really coming through. As
you've got
Piastri and Lando.
Yes.
And they are really hungry and goddamn sick of seeing Max in front of them.
Yes.
I get it. We're all a bit bored of Max winning.
Yeah, like, come
it's
on.
time for something new.
Someone else, please.
David Luttsy Lutteral of Nova Brisbane Breakfast Radio fame, who is also the go-to guy on the ground when it comes to everything Olympic in this town. Thanks for joining us, Luttsy.
Guys, absolute pleasure to be joining you once again.
The reason you're the absolute go-to on this topic is because you have an incredible podcast called Towards the Games, which is all about heading towards Brisbane 2032. And we just want to know, where is it all at? Is it going to happen?
Well, as you guys know, I think we started the podcast in almost 4 years ago, like just after the Tokyo 2021 Olympics, and people were sort of saying, how on earth are we going to fill every 2 weeks this far out? And I mean, it's been the complete opposite of that. We're trying to, jam as much information every 2 weeks as we can. And as you said, right now, here we are just over 7 and a bit years out from the 2032 Olympics and Paralympics now, and essentially when it comes to infrastructure, not a sod of soil has been turned. So the 100-day review is currently on. So just a bit of catch-up, obviously with a change in government. David Crisafulli is the new Queensland Premier.
Yep.
Just before Christmas, I guess it was, David and his team put together a 7-person independent review committee, varying people from different backgrounds, infrastructure, sport, entertainment, a fairly heavy North Queensland representation as well, which is David's roots. He's an Ingham boy. Pretty impressive bunch of people. They are currently, I guess, just over halfway through that 100-day review. So I think it comes up on about, I'm going to say March the 8th.
Okay.
Maybe just check that, but it's somewhere right there around March 8th. So where are we now? That's probably, what's the date today? I don't even know.
Just a month away, yeah.
Yeah, a month away essentially. If I was to speculate at this point what the most likely outcome of that review would be, and this is pure speculation because even though I know a couple of the guys on this review, they've sort of been, whilst they've been very busy, they haven't really been able to discuss obviously what's happening outside, what they've been doing behind closed doors. There was 5,000 submissions that people brought to them. So that varies from everyday Brisbaneites to people that have, large corporations that want to get behind a certain project, everything from national swimming centres to Mount Cootha swimming centres.
Yeah, the Mount Cootha one sounded interesting. Right?
Very interesting, yeah. I mean, where it stands at the moment, here's what I think could happen.
Please say Vic Park.
Just purely on all the research that we've done with the podcast, I can't see a better solution than Victoria Park for the stadium.
Yes.
I can't see any other outcome that this review committee is going to come back and say Victoria Park, which then the interesting problem that David Christofouli sort of has put himself in is he said no new stadium, but has been very vague around exactly what that means. And I think he's left himself wiggle room to be able to allow Victoria Park stadiums, this is the 75, 80,000 seat stadium, to still happen if that is what this review committee hands down. Keep in mind also that the 7-person committee continues on right through to the construction of all these things. So it's not like the Graham Quirk situation with Stephen Miles where he said, here you go. He pushed the document across the desk, wiped his hands of it, and then Stephen Miles threw it straight in the bin. Around that whole Cusack fiasco, which we don't want to even talk about, ladies. The other point to this also is the Brisbane Live or Brisbane Arena. So the federal government has put aside $3.5 billion to build a Madison Square Garden style kind of arena. Now, all the talk around that has been at Roma Street Parklands. The problem around that is they've discovered that building above the rail lines is going to be essentially cost prohibitive. If I was a betting man right now, I would suggest the review committee is going to come back and say, look, we've built this Cross River Rail. I think the spend on that, which was supposed to be around $7 billion, is like $10 billion and growing as they try and complete it. Whilst the Gabba itself, I don't think will have any legs as far as, the redevelopment of the stadium. The old state government GoPrint site, which now is basically on top of where the Cross River Rail Station is, that block of land next to the Gabba, I think potentially they could recommend that the Brisbane Live or Brisbane Arena be built on that site. That will obviously make sense because they've spent billions and billions of dollars, building a railway station to this spot where the initial Gabba, Anastasia Palaszczuk Gabba Stadium was going to be. And you still have the Victoria Park Stadium. What that obviously would then do, the Gabba, as it stands at the moment, has a shelf life left of around 2030. So the Brisbane Lions and Test cricket and the Queensland Bulls and the Brisbane Heat would still be able to play on at the Gabba until the completion of the Victoria Park new stadium, which means there'll be no displacement of any of those sporting franchises, etc. So that would be the smoothest way for that to happen as well.
Yeah, that's always something to think about as well. Like, it's not just the building of the stadiums, but it's the logistics of moving teams around. It's the location of all those houses surrounding the Gabba. They would all need to be moved, essentially.
Yeah, and you'd have the Brisbane Lions, the defending AFL champions, essentially until after 2032 probably be playing outside of Brisbane. I mean, if it's not Springfield, it'd be down on the Gold Coast. I can't see that being something they would recommend. And also then it just allows some time to then, once 2030 comes along and the Gabba reaches the end of its life, it needs like a $1.5 billion spend just to get it to standard, just to get some, like an ambulance in there, to get disabled access, things like that. So that'll allow the time then at that stage to reimagine what the Gabba becomes, whether that becomes a green space or residential, or they decide to do something in more of a stadia sense at that point. Again, it's just speculation, guys, but I just think at the moment that's what I'd be leaning towards. Vic Park, potentially Brisbane Arena moving from Roma Street Parklands to the Gabba site. And I guess, as we said, we'll know in early March exactly what happens there.
Luttsy, I saw some crazy images of a diving platform around Kangaroo Point or off Kangaroo Point. Can you tell us a little bit more about what that's about?
Well, interesting. Rob Woodhouse was on our Toward the Games podcast. When was that? Last week. So Rob's as you guys know, is the CEO of Swimming Australia. And I'd never thought about this actually, but Rob was suggesting that he thought by 2032 that what we now see as that Red Bull high diving, that pops up on our Instagram feed.
Terrifies us all.
That would actually be an Olympic sport by 2032.
So good.
The tongue-in-cheek would be that they're jumping off the Kangaroo Point cliffs, which would certainly be a stunning backdrop and tourism sort of ad for Queensland, wouldn't it? Whether or not that comes to fruition or not, in our next podcast, we will be doing our 5 fantasy destinations for Olympic sports, where I guess we're half tongue-in-cheek saying, where, if you had your absolute dream of dreams, where would you have the different sports to showcase, what Queensland and Brisbane has to offer? I'd put the golf at Hamilton Island. That's what I'd do.
Yeah.
Can you imagine the drone shots flying through there? That'd be like billions of eyes on a Queensland tourism ad. That's we're going to have a bit of fun with that. But I don't think anything's, for the change in government, nothing's been built yet. Nothing is off the table. I'll be very surprised if we don't see still changes in what initially in that draft book, which we had to submit, obviously, to be awarded the games. For instance, Royal Queensland was the golf and, the Whitewater Centre at Redlands, things like that. I still think there'll be changes at this point. And I think some of those submissions coming through to the Independent Review Committee will hopefully raise some light. I'll be very surprised if things like Doomben Racecourse are not brought back into the limelight for equestrian, things like that. So I think the next month's going to be really interesting. Honestly, it's going to be a really turning point for David Crisafulli, this new Queensland Premier. He says he's a listener. He said he'll listen to the review. The proof will be in the pudding come March 8, whether he actually pushes through and presses the go button on these infrastructure projects. 7 years out, I know people say we had 7 years for Sydney in 2000 when we were awarded the games in 1993. I think it's a completely different landscape as far as building and infrastructure. Like, we need to get going here. We need to get going.
It's so funny because I was about to bring up that exact point and be like, it's fine, everybody listening. We'll totally get this done. And you're like, actually, it's terrible.
Yeah, I just see that it being problematic. I mean, I think that obviously the situation, without getting into politics and things with CFMEU and unions and things like that, I mean, what better place to make a statement than when the biggest show on earth is coming to town? I mean, I think there's going to be a lot of issues with all of that, but that's way above my pay grade. But the important thing is that I think as soon as we get these review committee proposals come forward, that I think Crisafulli can make a real statement in going, bang, let's get on with this now. The people have spoken, let's move.
Yeah. The bottom line is we need to get moving.
Yeah. And I mean, I don't know how you guys feel, but for me, I think once it starts, I feel like everyone else is kind of waiting until we start building. And I think that's sort of hampering the excitement levels. Until we start that, like, there's nothing happening in schools and things like that. You know what I mean? Like, I just don't feel like there's the energy levels and the excitement levels.
Totally agree.
Probably in the last 12 months through the podcast, and I'm sure you guys have noticed this as well, there's obviously been a difference. Even since when I first spoke to you guys on your podcast, it was a different landscape. I mean, more people are talking to me about this over the weekend in pubs and at work and things like that. I mean, everyone still, I think, feels a little bit more invested than they did 12 months ago. But once we start building, I think that's going to really just take another level.
If we could just figure out where to put our excitement, I think everyone would be ready and raring to get going and prepared to put on a hard hat if that's what's required.
I will get out there, Luttsy. I'll have my sledgehammer. I'm ready to knock down the gabba.
We still need the gabba.
Oh, okay. Sorry. Yeah, that's right. We need it.
Well, I would like to see that. And you know what else I'm expecting to see soon? I just announced on my Nova radio show today that one Susie O'Neill is doing Dancing with the Stars.
Oh, that's amazing. So, Luttsy, I got 4th in Dancing with the Stars, just FYI.
Was it 4th? Did you get 4th?
Thank you. Yes, I got 4th. I was the first of the plebs. And so if Susie gets less than that, just know who is the winner.
The queen of dancing.
Hilarity of that is she actually quit my radio show last year to have a quote-unquote break, and she's now doing 40 hours a week of work just to prepare for this thing. Is that true?
And she's going to be so competitive.
Oh, can you imagine?
This is classic Susie, right? She doesn't know how to stop.
Yeah.
No.
That's it.
Exactly. No, I'm really happy for her. I hope she nails it. But she says it's been physically a challenge. She's got stress fractures and bleeding feet and all sorts of business. This dancing thing is quite a hard game, apparently.
It is, especially for swimmers because we're not used to land-based activities.
Of course.
And so, gravity is really hard for us.
Oh, come on.
It's really taxing on our bodies. You guys wouldn't understand.
Oh, that's hilarious.
Oh, you're a legend. Thank you so much, Luttsy, for your time.
Guys, if I hear any more, you'll be the first to know, but that's where it's at the moment, I think, anyway.
We will be following and checking in with you regularly as March 8 approaches.
Loving the podcast too, guys, so keep them coming.
Thank you for listening to this week's episode of Sportish. We love having you here to talk sport with us on all different fronts, fashion, fast cars.
All the things.
All the things.
I have to go pick up my child from the health centre now, so.
Because school started and now.
And immediately sick.
Yeah, this is life, right? We've all had those days.
We keep on
That's
rolling.
Libby's day today. Yay.
Yay. See you next week.
Bye.